Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tim Richards, Technical Services Manager of the Managing General Agents Association, and on behalf of the MGAA, I'd like to welcome you to our briefing this afternoon. This is being delivered by InsureMO, Quantee and Tapoly on the subject of embedded insurance, market, benefits, challenges and opportunities for MGAs. Before I introduce our presenters, I'd just like to run through a few housekeeping points. Please ensure your microphone and camera are turned off. If we run out of time, if you have any questions, these will be answered post-event. The presentation is accredited for CPD points if relevant to your ongoing professional development programme. This briefing is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be issued post-event together with the slides and our feedback survey. Please take the time to complete our survey, which will take no longer than 2 minutes. This allows us to deliver the best possible future events to our membership. So to recap, today's briefing is on the subject of embedded insurance, market, benefits, challenges and opportunities for MGAs from InsureMO, Quantee and Tapoly. So let me introduce you to our presenters, Andre Santos, EMEA Director of InsureMO, Janthana Kaenprakhamroy, CEO and founder for Tapoly, and Scott Holmes, UK and Ireland Director for Quantee. Andre is a passionate person in the insurance and technology worlds who believes the right combination between both can provide unique experiences to clients and disrupt the insurance industry and the overall perception clients have about insurance. Leveraging his experience in both corporate worlds at Mapfre Astincentia and in several startups and scale-ups across both sectors, insurance and insurance technology providers, can translate into a differing approach to topics and generate value for insurers, MGAs, insurance brokers, insurtechs and distribution channels in the digital transformation process, and also for the overall client proposition definition, creation, implementation and distribution, including the embedded insurance affinity spaces. Janthana is the CEO of Tapoly, a pioneering on-demand insurance provider for SMEs and freelancers. She has been recognized as the 6th top woman founder to watch by Forbes and as one of the top 10 insurtech female influencers by the Insurance Institute. Recently, she has won prestigious awards such as the Innovator of the Year Award at the UK FinTech Awards 2023 and the Insurance Leader of the Year Award at the Women in Finance Awards 2021. Before joining Tapoly, Janthana worked at top-tier investment banks. Tapoly has received several accolades, including the Technology Development Award at the European Business Awards 2021 and the Best SaaS On-Demand Insurance Provider Award 2023. Scott is responsible for the growth of Quantee in the UK and Ireland, having joined to launch Quantee into the insurance market in 2022. Scott has a wide range of experience across both tech and insurance, having held roles at SSP, Canopius and Liverpool Victoria over the past 15 years, working across the life, health and general insurance markets. So without further ado, enjoy the briefing everyone, and over to you, Andre.
Thank you, Tim. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, perfectly.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Tim, for the introduction. And I would like to start the session by thanking the MGAA for the opportunity to present of a topic that means so much to us in the insurance industry, like embedded insurance. Second part, I would like to thank my fellow colleagues that accept my invitation to join the panel, Scott and Janthana, which is with great pleasure that we host you here today. And finally, of course, to the audience that is watching us and took a little bit of your busy diaries to watch this webinar. So, as Tim mentioned, the topic of today is about embedded insurance. So what is it? What's the actual opportunity and the target market and the segment of the market? How can MGAs address and implement a correct embedded insurance strategy to make sure that they are successful? So, as the agenda will start with the speaker introduction, as Tim already done that, so thank you very much for that. We'll move forward to the learning objectives according to the CPD requirements, a brief overview of the 3 companies that we represent, okay? Then starts the actual discussion on embedded insurance, addressing the specifically needs and points, and we reserve a final slot for Q&A. So the learning objectives of today's session. So my main objectives of today's session that I want to clarify and be very simple, in simplistic terms, what is embedded insurance, what's the potential, what's the market, and how can an MGA implement, are the innovative ways and also the challenge that an MGA faces on adopting an embedded insurance strategy, what they should have in place and what they should avoid, and to summarize, how to create a more comprehensive client proposition overall. Okay, so those are the learning objectives for today's session. So without any further delays, and to explain a little bit what is InsureMO, which stands for Insure Middle Office, I'll start. So InsureMO is an insurance-specific platform as a service solution. So it's a middle office, a middle layer that allows clients to create new insurance applications and propositions, digitize their current ones, and connect their proposition to the global insurance ecosystem. All of this is done by APIs and based on a microservice architecture. What microservice is that all the components of the platform are independent and the platform is highly scalable and modular. Okay, so we are an infrastructure platform. We have a very ambitious goal of becoming the AWS of insurance, where we want any insurance player in the world to use our platform, or at least some components of our platform, to build any insurance product, any insurance, connect to any distribution channel, and any insurance use case. The four main pillars of our platform are the digital insurance product library and our product factory tool, where you can build your products or leverage one of our over 3,000 products already built, our APIs, which segment into insurance APIs and non-APIs, and finally, what we call the administration and utilities pillar, which basically gives you the tool to control the whole platform. Scott, over to you now.
Thanks, Andre. Thanks for having us on today. So just a quick intro to Quantee. So we provide SaaS solutions for insurance pricing. Quantee is the most innovative choice for insurance pricing, and we are leveraged across a range of different lines of business by insurers, by MGAs, by brokers, and are utilized globally. So we very much focus on the pricing aspect and the data analytics aspect of embedded insurance, as today's subject is.
Thank you, Scott. Janthana?
Yes, and I'm Janthana. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Tapoly Insurance on Tap. We provide technology solutions for insurance companies, and we focus on the end-to-end InsurTech platform. It's cloud-based and on API. So we are trying to renew the existing process. Our technology is used to streamline and automate most of the manual processes that insurance is having relating to distribution, underwriting, claims, and even reinsurance. Part of what we do here in the UK is we are offering MGA service license, where we provide underwriting service, and we also sells insurance directly to consumer.
Thank you, Janthana. So now we are going to start the session around embedded insurance, and I think there must be a better way to start with a clear definition of what is embedded insurance to have everybody on the same page. Apologies, I didn't use ChatGPT as I should, but I went to Google, and it's a very simple but effective description of what is embedded insurance. So embedded insurance refers to the insurance product that is integrated into a consumer product or service rather than being sold separately. So in simplistic terms, this means that we want to provide, we that love the embedded insurance proposition, we want to provide frictionless experience to the clients. And you will hear a lot this expression today on the moment of buying the insurance element, but I go one step further. On the moment of servicing and when the moment of truth happens, which is the claim, to provide a seamless, connected, and enjoyable experience too. So Tim, with that being said, I'll pass over to you for you to start the session around the questions and to be the moderator of the panel, please.
Certainly. Starting, Andre, with a question very similar to that definition, really. What is embedded insurance, and how is it different from traditional insurance, and what is the opportunity? So, Andre, that's one for you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Tim. So basically, I'm going to start to answer that question with some breaking news and shocking news. Despite insurance being the industry that we all love and are passionate, I think it's fair to say that the end customer doesn't find it as appealing as we do. And the reason why the end client is still purchasing insurance policies, one, it's because it's mandatory, and second is because there is a fear and he wants to protect some asset. Okay, but there must be a better way and a more exciting way to overcome this and turn the insurance industry more appealing to the end customer. And one of the ways to do that is to adopt embedded insurance as part of the insurance overall proposition. Because if we think about the client is buying an asset or something that he really enjoys, like a car, a home, a trip, a smart device, and we are embedding the insurance element into this journey without being sold separately. What this will provide, again, is a frictionless experience and is associated with the moment of joy of the purchasing of that asset in general. Many insurance players, as we know, and this varies from carriers to insurance brokers, MGAs, etc., don't have right now the level of trust from the end client. So this, again, would be a perfect way of associating with a really valued brand and associated to a great moment and to increase the level of trust on the end client. The opportunity that this represents to MGA specifically, I think it's not only new distribution channels, more revenue, but also a way of justifying an increase the margins, the commissions that they have negotiated with the insurers, because they are providing a better value for insurance and for capacity providers too. And also, when we look about the opportunity, I had, so based on some studies provided by iptQ, Google Cloud, 90, and Simon Torrance, which is a leading expert on the embedded insurance proposition, they estimate that this value will be, the GWP will be around $1.5 trillion in the next less than 10 years time, which represents around 30% of the GWP that the insurance industry produces globally. EY, on the other hand, they value and back up these figures on their recent study, but they say that rather than less than 10 years, is in less than 5 years. So this is a huge opportunity that we need to address right now and take care of the market. Of course, the larger markets are the US and China, but Europe, the value is still huge and a massive opportunity with an estimated value of around $200 billion in GWP. Okay, so two last topics here before I pass to the next question is that I think embedded insurance will also produce a positive effect on the industry, where it will generate a growth on the insurance industry and not only cannibalize from traditional insurance segments and part of the market. So embedded insurance will be responsible for create this trust and to grow the insurance industry as a whole. And the last message that I would like to give here to MGAs as well is that I believe if we don't adopt as an insurance industry and MGAs and carriers this strategy and part of the embedded insurance proposition, we will see non-insurance traditional players, so like those brands, taking action into their own hands and capitalizing their knowledge and their know-how to acquire part of this GWP and revenue that generates.
Great, thanks, Sandro. Second question is, how does embedded insurance benefits consumers and affinity distribution companies, and what is the value to MGAs? And that's one for Janthana, please.
I think the value to MGA is phenomenal. Obviously, embedded insurance could really solve some of the consumer thoroughly sorely needed insurance gap. And the embedded insurance concept, I think, it's got two aspects. One, obviously, is required technology integration. So that is something that digital MGA like Tapoly could come in and help. And the other aspect is the product development piece, which obviously embedded insurance is all about creating, like kind of bespoke, customized insurance product for specific gap or for specific services and embedded seamlessly to someone else's product and services. And this is something that MGA could really kind of focus on, because we've got both the regulatory entity that allow us to be able to underwrite, create this wonderful product, and at the same time we've got a technology solution to be able to drive this particular type of insurance approach to consumer.
Great.
Did
Thanks.
I answer all your questions, by the way? Have I missed anything?
That's perfect. Thanks, Janthana. I appreciate it. So our third question is, what are the challenges and must-haves an MGA must have in place in order to implement an embedded insurance strategy? Again, Janthana, if that's one for you, please.
In terms of what I think must have, obviously technology is one of the key components of must-have for MGA, but also, like data for the understanding of customer needs. If you're going to build an embedded insurance, you need to know exactly what type of product, what type of risk you're going to be specifically tailor your product for. So that is important. And the aspect of being able to tailor, like specific product for that gap or for that niche is important, of course. Collaboration between us and the platform or the partner that we're going to be offering this insurance to is essential. So, and we're talking about, this kind of tech aspect of integration, and that's people aspect where collaboration, communications come into place, and also their willingness to promote our product. And there are several types of partnership. Some partnership is on an opt-in, and other partnership is on an opt-out. So on an opt-out basis, you get more traction. Immediately every single customer that comes through the partners platform will be one of your customer, whereas on an opt-in basis, you need a lot of a push social media approach, and then a lot of engagement with customer in order to convert an individual customer into your paying customer. So that's the bit that you really need a more collaboration between you and the platform, and also continue to improve, because the risk and the product that we offering may eventually not meet the requirement of the customer. So, like risk move, as you know, so there may be some sort of a development, a product development that you have to continue, and also technology enablement that you need to continue if you're going to have if you're going to be successful in embed insurance.
Great, thanks, Janthana. Next one for Scott, please. What do you need to have in place from an underwriting process perspective to make an embedded proposition work?
Yes, I think that that ultimately providers, underwriters are looking to improve their margins, all the time, and within their products, and I guess also achieve sort of higher customer satisfaction. And I think really an embedded proposition can support that. I think from an underwriting perspective, there'll be far more available data and insight into the risk that's coming through, I guess, the experience that Janthana and Andre both described, really. So there's far more insight into that risk, and it's important that really the tools and resources are available to leverage that data to provide a more accurate price or more accurate product features, etc., which will in turn hopefully result in improved margins and hopefully also higher customer satisfaction, because the price and the product is more reflective to that customer. I think it is one of the main benefits really with an embedded insurance product, that typically there are more data points on the risk. So it's essential that they aren't wasted, and an MGA or a broker and an insurer have the tools to utilize that data effectively, which is the point, I think, to stress, really, to utilize it effectively, because I think with all of this data, it can sometimes be almost overwhelming, and so to manage this and organize it, it can be challenging at times. So It could be that there are certain risk factors that are almost kind of like hidden in the data, and if it's not properly organized, then it's almost like a needle in a haystack, and it could potentially go missing. So I think it's really important that from an underwriting perspective, you're able to I guess accommodate that type of data, and being able to manage it and organize it effectively, and really kind of leverage it to their benefit. And you should be able to see the results, I guess, on the other side of it.
Thanks, Scott. And next question, one for Andre, please, is what are the critical factors to have an embedded insurance proposition successful and profitable?
Okay, I think a few points Janthana and Scott already mentioned, but I'll give my thoughts on that as well in my answer. So I think there are 4 critical factors, okay? One of them is to embrace the commercial development of the proposition itself. So we are in a world that consumers want to purchase everything, well, not everything, but a lot of things online with a good experience and in a fast and controlled environment, okay? So we need to be able to simplify the UI, UX, and the purchase process. And when I say this is we need to provide frictionless, again, and seamless experience to the consumer purchasing this type of products. The same, I would say, for the claims element. So it's necessary to adapt the claims process to an embedded insurance proposition. So if we expect the client to purchase the insurance policy in a frictionless and seamless way during the purchase journey, we need to give them the ability to do the same from a claims perspective, and also allow a faster claims payout with predefined rules. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, it's the distribution channel that I will address. So we need the MGAs and the insurance players to make partnerships with real added value strategic brands, okay? These brands, they already earn the trust, and they have huge customer bases and database that trust them. So we need to find a way, very simplistic, to embed our insurance offer around their proposition, but never forgetting and neglecting their core values and that mission. That needs to be linked, because they are the ones that are delivering a truly customer-centric approach, and insurance need to be part of that, okay? So that's point number 2. Of course, I would lie if right technology, like Janthana said, is a must, and it's essential. Majority of the time, these partners, these distribution partners and these brands, they would have a very strong front end and portal, okay, but potentially they don't have the right middle office and back office to support the insurance activity. And offering these technologies will result in improving the embedded insurance proposition and working in full capacity. So, of course, a platform like InsureMO that manage everything behind the scenes, from product configuration, all the integrations needed, and this could be an integration from the MGA to the brand itself, could be bundling several products together to provide a better product to the end client, could be bundling product coverage together as well, and coordinating all this API orchestration, which makes not only the front-end journey very pleasant experience for the client, but all the behind-the-scenes process very good for the MGAs, for the carriers, and for the brand itself. And last point that I would add is to have real-time data analytics. So we need to be able to really understand consumer behavior. The MGAs need to help to have this really clearly present in order to provide this customer-centric approach that I'm speaking, and also to tailor better the products to the exact needs of that client, and also to improve the pricing strategy. But I'm sure Scott already mentioned, but I'm sure Scott can expand more around the pricing element and actually pricing and providing a huge value to the MGAs to improve the loss ratio and the combined ratio.
Scott, did you want to add anything on to that at all?
I think Andre's done a pretty good job, to be honest. I think, as you say, the from a pricing perspective, it is a pretty critical factor. In order to still have accurate pricing and still be refined. I think sometimes we've seen some embedded products in the past where it's fairly kind of vague. They're maybe not drilling down into the details too often, and the prices maybe don't sort of differ too much between one risk and another. So and in that instance, it's a case of not really utilizing the data, which is the point that we were driving on before. So I think, as you say, it's important to have the pricing strategy in place and to be able to leverage the data in the way you describe, and have those tools available, but ultimately have the people there to be able to make the decisions, so that you can still have a sharp kind of pricing execution, basically. So yeah, I guess really kind of echoing what Andre was saying.
Thanks, Scott. Next one for Janthana. Are embedded insurance products something that only the direct insurers can benefit from and sell, or can this also be distributed by brokers?
I think eventually, obviously, insurance broker, whole relationship and key to the customer, especially for corporate clients. So this certainly, an opportunity for broker to be able to step in and also face off the customer. Often you find, traditional MGA, for example, may not have a direct relationship with their brokers and customer, depending on, the type of value proposition and the type of insurance products we're talking about. Some product is predominantly going to be sold by brokers. So it's pretty much, a type of wholesale product, and then there is easy retail product. I would say that, if we're talking about very specialist complex product, then it makes perfect sense to have include the broker into the change.
Thanks,
For relationship purposes.
Perfect, thank you. And one for Scott. Can you please provide examples of target markets where you see embedded insurance working?
Yeah, I think we certainly see this working well across a range of different markets, really. I think in retail markets there's a growing popularity, and we've been seeing it a lot in pet actually recently, the pet insurance, where they're embedding insurance into wider kind of pet services that can be available, such as with different veterinary technology or different food and various other kind of pet service that exists. Insurance is now being kind of embedded into that offering. So we're seeing that growing more and more. But really, I think it's not really a new concept as such, and I think in motor it's been around for a long time. And I remember years ago sort of first seeing it probably with Toyota, where they would embed it into their products as part of their garages, and I think on household as well, seeing it sometimes go with banks like LBG and others, where they would embed insurance products into their financial products. If you take a mortgage out or something like that, then insurance can come as part of that, or certainly a quote for insurance as part of that. So it's been around for a long time, but I guess that kind of take up is starting to kick off really more in the last few years. I think where we are seeing some pretty exciting stuff is in commercial lines actually as well. So I think, again, drawing on the increased amount of data that's coming with it now, because it's able to, I guess, help sort of open up some of that insight into the risk, really, or into the business. A lot of the time there's additional data that's coming into really just how that business operates and how the business is performing, and the elements of assets that business has, which maybe traditionally, depending on the situation, that level of insight hasn't really been there before, or certainly to be accessible in a way that can help with the pricing. So we've seen a few propositions recently where an insurance product is being embedded into a commercial line business, and it's having some real benefit for them. So I guess across a range of different markets, really, we're seeing it start to work really well.
Thanks, Scott. And just before we get to our next question, just a reminder that you can use the chat facility on the chat at the bottom of the screen. You just see a button there. We've already got one question from David Fitzgerald, which we'll come to shortly. If anyone else does have any questions, please feel free to type them in now, and we should have time to get to them. But just dealing with our next question first, how does embedded insurance fit into the broader landscape of insurtech and innovation? And that's one for Andre.
Okay, Tim, thank you. So, as we mentioned, embedded insurance refers to the integration of insurance products into the purchase of products or service that are not primarily insurance related. Okay, so I think this creates a lot of innovation, and it's a growing trend in the insurance and insurtech space, creating a lot of opportunities for MGAs to reach new distribution channels, new customers, generate more value and more GWP and more value in their proposition, even to insurers, but also to protect the clients, basically providing a better outcome to them and also a more suitable product. So I think that the key element and where I see the embedded insurance progressing really well is, as I mentioned, passing from a product-centric approach to a customer-centric approach, where we should and we will put the customer at the center of everything that we do in designing and distributing those insurance products. So I think it's a change in paradigm on the insurance industry in general, but also I see, as I mentioned, the embedded insurance market generating a positive effect on the insurance industry and growing the insurance GWP globally. So I think there is a lot of opportunities for the MGAs to explore in that space, to be creative, to innovate, and to increase their value in the insurance value chain.
Great, thanks, Andre. And next one for Scott. Can you price accurately on an embedded insurance product, or is the quote data too limited?
Yeah, I guess we've kind of drawn a little bit on this through the other questions so far, but I mean the situation will of course differ from one proposition to another. I'm sure there are some out there who maybe don't have the most accurate pricing or are not using the data as they should perhaps, but generally speaking, I guess with the experiences I've seen today, I think the data, it does give an enhanced view of the risk, and it certainly allows for more accurate pricing. I guess as a recent example, I was speaking to a business recently that has an embedded proposition for a personal lines product, and they actually noted that because the customer buying journey was different to a traditional insurance buying method, it was a more customer centric process where they were buying other products. Insurance was being included as part of that. Then they were seeing far less opportunistic fraud, I guess, as I would describe it, and less people that are chopping and changing their details to get a better quote. So they're putting in their more accurate information because I think ultimately they probably trust the process differently. Sometimes there is a challenge with trust with insurance, isn't there? We see an insurance brand as a consumer, and perhaps we're trying to kind of almost defraud it a little bit in order to get the best rate. So they found that in this change where they were kind of embedding the product, then there was less of that kind of opportunistic fraud going on, and they were able to get far more accurate data coming through on their risks, which I thought was quite interesting. So the potential is definitely there, but I think it is still up to the practitioner really to have the right processes and tools in place in order to manage it appropriately.
And Scott, sorry, Janthana, you go first, please.
Yeah, just to add to what Scott just mentioned around data. Obviously, with embedded insurance, you expect to have more data than the traditional quote and bind. So working with partner, depending who you're working with, you should be able to inherently also absorb some of the data that your partner generally would collect that you don't use for your underwriting, right, or your and that in itself would allow us to be able to view customer profile in the way that we haven't done before. Classic example could be cyber insurance that you can offer as part of cybersecurity package, for example, and then you've got all these cybersecurity data that you don't actually get if you were to just offer simple the cyber insurance solution on a quote and bind.
Janthana, no, that's perfect, because that was one of the points that I was also going to highlight and raise, is that usually these brands that you associated with, they have a level of data that sometimes we on the insurance space are missing and lacking. So it's a very powerful combination to create powerful propositions. And also one of the points that Scott mentioned that I would like to give a bit more as well into it is that loads of times the end consumer they don't want to share data as well with the insurance industry because they think that that data will be used against them. So again, creating this trust, associating the insurance element with a powerful brand, I think it's a good way to mitigate the perception of the end consumer, and we as an industry to improve and gain that trust that we want to have with the end client.
Thanks, Andre. And final question for you, please, Andre. Will all insurance products be embedded in the future?
No. I don't think all the insurance products will be embedded. As I mentioned, I think a good portion and backed up by two very credible sources and reports will be, the estimations is around 30% of a growing market. Okay, so $1.5 trillion. Those are very big numbers to look into it, and the reality is in between 5 to 10 years time, the specialists say that this will reach the 30% of the overall GWP globally. Okay, so this is a very exciting time, great opportunities for MGAs and for the all insurance value chain to be associated with platforms and brands that already have this data and this huge customer base and their trust, and it's the perfect opportunity for us to start building digital ecosystems around insurance, where insurance is one part of the proposition, not all. Okay, and start promoting co-opetition with these brands rather than competition. So we need to be mindful as well that if we don't action soon, these brands will, by their own initiative, will start promoting some insurance offers and protection by themselves. And the last point that I would like to make is that the insurance element on an embedded insurance proposition is not sold, is driven by the brand, is part of the overall proposition, and is driven by a very good, seamless, frictionless UI, UX experience for the client.
Thanks, Andre. And we'll now switch to live questions. So David Fitzgerald has sent one through. Thanks very much, David. And
sorry, Tim, should I just before we continue, should I just read the learning objectives before we go to Q&A, or you want?
Yeah, absolutely, go for it.
Okay, fine. So this is, again, let me just change my slide. It's to demonstrate what we have learned today according to CPD requirements as well. So we've tried to explain what is embedded insurance and the potential opportunities of the market, okay, specifically focused on the MGA, on the MGA world. Also, we try to describe what were the challenges that MGA facing in adopting embedded insurance strategy, and what are the must-haves on adopting this strategy. So a key factor points that we consider essential to be successful and profitable adopting an embedded insurance strategy. Also, a few innovative ways of creating additional value to the insurance value chain and to the distribution channels. And finally, we summarize how to create a more comprehensive client proposition overall and the main factors to that embedded insurance proposition. So now, Tim, now it's the session for Q&A, and I'll move to you.
Perfect. And if anyone has any questions after the event as well, you can see the contact details on the bottom of the screen, so feel free to send those through. Once again, David, thank you for sending a question through. If anyone else has any questions they'd like to ask any of the panel, please send them through now. This one from David: how are consumer sale regulations complied with? Are policies adequately explained pre-sale, as I guess these are a non-touch product? So if I can ask Andre, if you could start first of all, and then perhaps if I can go to Scott and Janthana after that.
Okay. Thank you, David. I think that's a really good question. So I think there is room for improvement in regulation and compliance as well. So embedded insurance needs naturally to find the space and understand how to position according to the regulation. But the other way around, I would say it's also important that regulators understand the benefits of embedded insurance and understand how can that be regulated from a sales perspective and distribution perspective. One of the things that I would say, and having worked at MAFRE for several years and being part of the product and pricing committee, is that it's everything as well related to product design and distribution. So all those elements are very important on the embedded insurance distribution. So when the time is right and you are defining the product, you need to take into consideration the type of distribution channel, the type of market that you are entering. If it is embedded insurance, you need to take into consideration that, provide more information clearly visible for the clients that want to access and to inquire about that. And this could be links to terms and conditions, IPIDs, etc., but also a way to communicate with an experienced insurance professional if they want to find out more information about the product itself, to clearly explain in simplistic terms. One of the things, before I pass to my colleagues too, that I would like to say, as an industry, we have the duty and to simplify the insurance process and terminology and products. I speak with a lot of clients, okay, and my wife is one of them. I think, and I'm going to be honest, I think the UK is much more advanced and developed than my own country, which is Portugal. In Portugal, I find the terminology, it's not clear, it's very confused and complex product and terms and conditions. So we have the right and the duty and the obligation to provide simplistic terms and definitions to clients that are very easy to digest and to understand. Janthana, Scott, I don't know if you want to add anything else on top.
Yeah, just to add to Andre's point around, product development and what often happens with embedded insurance is, or how it's used by the service provider to amplify their own service, if that makes sense. So it is not created as a standalone product, especially if we're talking about on an opt-out basis. Classic example, it could be travel insurance that included in credit card. If you have credit card, like Amex does that. So that would be an additional service. And in terms of the, kind of regulation and compliance, the product itself would be offered by, like insurance company that are fully regulated, and the policy wording would be in a standardized format. We are not often embedded insurance derived from traditional insurance product with, like very specific wording and very specific risk that we cover, except for the risk itself may vary from, platform to platform, product to product, and depending on what your partner needs as well. So from that end, I guess, like the regulation will be compliant in pretty much similar way that you would expect from selling traditional insurance products. And, like it has all the mechanics of insurance, which mean that if you need to have claim, you probably would have to call the claims administrator teams. If you have any issue, anything, like any question, then there may be, a customer service that take your call and explain some of the terms and conditions on your product. But what you often see is that all of these terms and conditions would be displayed at the point where customer is either buying the product or opt into a product. They should be, like a landing page usually. Often when you get embedded insurance, you don't get like a proper full policy, but what you get is a place where you can find information more about it, and it should be seamlessly embedded into the service provider website usually. Yes, so to some extent, whether it's touched or non-touched, that is to be decided by, we agree by both your, the party who offer the insurance product and the partners, because often it's driven by partners' need. If they want something more embedded, completely seamless, then there may be completely no touch. But there are partners where you want customer to opt in, and when there is that kind of disruption opt-in basis, then usually there will be, some touch point where customer have to make decision. Yeah.
Thanks, Janthana. Scott, anything to add?
I think the guys have probably covered it really. I think from my perspective, we would be more involved in, from a regulatory side, like the how the data is used, how the data is managed. So things like GDPR as an example, and then equally from a pricing perspective to ensure that things are priced fairly and and meeting the new regulations such as like price walking that we had earlier in the year or last year, whenever it was. And so I guess, yeah, we're sort of more involved from that perspective. And yeah, I guess in that way, again, it's dependent on the buying process and the case by case. But really, yeah, as the guys have kind of explained, with the relevant kind of terms and conditions that are outlined, and getting the relevant consent as part of that process, and it allows you to be compliant with those processes as part of it. And then yeah, really it becomes a case to make sure that when it comes to renewal, that they're not forgetting about the products that they've bought and things like that, that this is something which they're still engaged in, still require, and that the risks are still accurate.
Thanks, Scott. We've got no further questions, so I'll just ask the panel for any final thoughts. So maybe Janthana, if I could start with you, have you got any final thoughts on today's presentation?
I think final thought is embedded insurance certainly going to be a huge opportunity for MGA and insurance intermediary in general, I think. And the market gap today, I think, if I remember correctly, is closer to 3 trillion in value. So there is a huge market potential there for all of us to be in this space.
Thanks, Janthana. Scott, anything to add?
I think again, just trying to harness the power of the data that's available. It seems from the people that we work with that the embedded insurance products they have, really work well from having that sort of high customer satisfaction and a really slick buying process for the different products they have. And really, they seem to just love all the data that they're getting hold of, really, and being able to really understand their customer better. So I guess, just trying to encourage people to harness that data and be able to have more accurate pricing, more accurate underwriting as a result.
Thanks, Scott. And Andre, any last words?
Well, just reiterate what the guys already said and what we reinforced throughout the presentation. I think the opportunity is huge. I would love a world where insurance increases the level of trust with the end consumer, because we are a brilliant and fundamental industry to society. And I see embedded insurance being that one of those elements that can help us in this journey. So from a business perspective, I think it makes completely sense. The market, as we explained, the three of us, it's huge. It's an opportunity that's out there, and we need to define clearly with the MGAs and all the insurance players the role and how to play in this segment of the market. Okay, so I think the benefits for the end client are huge as well, and this will simplify the whole insurance process and purchase experience. So that's my takeaway for today.
Perfect. Thanks, Andre. And just a reminder to everyone that the contact details are on the bottom of your screen. So feel free to contact Andre, Janthana or Scott on the details they've given there. And just remains me to say then, thanks so much for the briefing today, Andre, Janthana and Scott, and the panel discussion. Much appreciated. And thanks to all of you for joining us. Please don't forget to provide your feedback and look out for forthcoming MGAA events. And as always, I do hope you have a productive afternoon. Thanks again for joining us, and see you all soon.